Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. And I want to say Shalom to Yakum Nakwath out there pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. And again, it's not the second part to here's some more reasons Babylon has got to go. Instead, I actually took some notes down here. I was sitting here. Earlier I was having we got out of Sabbath sundown today. Here in Vegas, it was around 7:34, something like that. And of course, tomorrow, I want to make that known too. Tomorrow at sundown, we'll be going back into a form of Sabbath. It's going to be the new moon, all right, which is kept as a Sabbath. And then it will end out on, what is the day? Thursday? Well, no, it's not even Thursday. It's Tuesday. So it was Monday to Tuesday. Of course, it ended at night. Technically today at around sundown, right? Wherever we happen to be. And then tomorrow it will kick back in on. It will kick back in around sunset, and it will end Thursday on sunset. So of course we have a little bit of a break today, but being that we were in Sabbath and all, I got off work earlier today around 1, and then came home and just kind of chilled, sat in bed, and then just relaxed after working early morning shift. And Sabbath, so having Sabbath chats, right? Sabbath conversations with the wife. And there was I don't even remember how it got on the subject. I mentioned something or other. Oh, I remember now. But we eventually ended up getting in on the subject of a bunch of different things, right? I have two, and I'll probably, take some time after this lesson to actually go and write some more down. But there's 3 here, technically. This lesson that I'm doing right now, which I don't have a title for. And then 2 other ideas, again, no titles, but I have it written down. A good chunk of these women calling themselves in the truth are disorderly. And then I have a note, serving the Lord through their husband. And that's not them being disorderly. That's a note on one of the things that I wanted to mention is that and it's a good example actually, because I was just let's see if I can go back there on GMS Awakening 144. I was actually just looking at it because I was scrolling, see if it'll come back up. It didn't, but his page comes up because the brother's on it with these posts, but I can probably find it on the post. It was 14 hours ago. So here's an example, and this is all through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai. This is 14 hours ago. I haven't seen this, right? In truth and sincerity, I haven't seen this. I was just, like I said, me and my wife, 14 hours ago. That was it was actually closer back then, because it's one. Yeah, we had that conversation maybe around 2. So 2, it's 11 now. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 14 minus 9. It was only 5 hours old, all right, at that time we were talking. Okay, I'm bad at math, so bear with me. I had to use the calculator. So it was only 4, 5, 6 hours old, depending exactly when the conversation went down. And that's through spirit and power of Yahweh Shai. So this is a post by him, and it says, "This is exactly why we tell women to shut up." And you see the the silence, and then the zipped mouth emoji, right? And again, this is not what we're talking about today, but I just wanted to read this before I go. I already read what I had the little note on, but this woman right here, Erica Oliver, says women will be essential also. He made 2 people in the garden, not 1. Men have to stop thinking Yah, which is the wrong name. All right, the Father's name is Yahweh. And you also have to say Bahashem Yahweh Shai, all right, because you can't just go directly through the Father. You can't just reach out to the Father. You have to go through a mediator, all right, who is Yahweh Shai. Okay, he's our mediator, and essentially like a lawyer, if you will. But he's more than that. He's the ultimate lawyer, and he's much more than that. I don't want to lessen him down to just a lawyer. But he acts like unto a lawyer unto us, all right, through the Most High. And on top of that, he is a mediator, all right, which, mediates in, let's just explain it better, because I'm not going to try to half bake a definition of what a mediator is. But a mediator is a neutral third party that helps people resolve conflicts, helps us become, I was going to mention that, but I didn't know if it was going to come out right, but, helps us become, helps with the reconciliation of us between, between us and the Heavenly Father, right? It says to reach a fair agreement, that would be that reconciliation. It says they guide talks and improve communication, but they do not make final choices or force a solution. Well, of course, because Yahweh at the end of the day is the ultimate judge, right? It's his will. And Yahushua in that walk, however you want to say it, is doing his will as well. So she said all that. She said Yah, all right, should be Yahweh Bashim Shai. It says, but it's good that you use Yah instead, because we won't want that, putting that madness on our Lord. It says only have them, and the only ones that are important. So no one said that, first of all, no one ever said that you weren't important, and this is the problem of why women do not make good judges. All right, because they are unable. And that's another thing I was talking to my wife, is that women are not good judges. All right, they're just not there, because a judge has to have a sound mind, and also has to deal with deal with the logistics, but also have logical thought. Okay, you can't judge off of raw emotion. That's not how it works. But women get upset, they get in their feeling, they think someone's bullying them or being mean, not being friendly, talking shit, which again, none of these things really matter in this truth. All right, there's no scripture that says thou must be nice. Okay, now that doesn't mean you should be a total fucking asshole at the end of the day either, but people got to get that out of their head, that this is like the Christian church, where you come around and we're going to be like, oh, hello, you sweetheart, how are you doing today, my lovely, sweet girl, how are you? No, man, we're not going to talk to you like a puppy dog. Okay, we're not, and that's just not how it's going to go. So women got to get out of that spirit. It says, will not have them, only ones that's important. No one ever said that you weren't important. Okay, there's important things you have to do, but you're not on the same level as a man. Okay, you can still have importance without equality. Okay, I know that's going to be something that's unfathomable to the mind of a woman, all right, especially the so-called black woman, but it's the fact. For example, let me think. Okay, here's an example. Say if you have a piece of mechanical, construction equipment, right? Some mechanical contraption. Now, you're going to have paint, and then you're going to have some bolts. Now, the bolts are integral. They must be on that piece of machinery to hold it together. They must be on there. Okay, they must be on there. Those, if you got some bolts popping off, well, that shit's gonna break. But the paint is also very important. Is it on the same level as that bolt? No, not at all. Okay, but it is important, because most of the paints that they use on those things are anti-rust coatings, anti-rust paint, and you want to have that, because again, if that paint somehow comes off and it's there for a long time, and it rains, and the certain right circumstances happen, it can potentially rust. And once it rusts, if it gets bad enough, that can cause structural damage as well. But it's not, if you're working on a piece of equipment and it's got some chipping paint, it's not, oh my God, stop what we're doing, there's some chipping paint. But if there's some missing bolts, all right, and a very important part, there's, hey, turn this machine off, there's missing bolts, we got to get some new bolts on it before we can even run it. But they're not going to do the same for the paint. Well, they'd be like, hey, yeah, there's some paint missing. We'll get to that eventually. It's running right now. It hasn't been raining lately, so it's fine. Even if it did start raining, they say, okay, it's raining, so we should probably get to that sooner than later. See if you can get the guys out within the next few weeks or month, and we have a couple things that need repainted, so just have them repaint them at the same time, right? That's not on the same level. Is it important? Yes. Is it on the same level as those bolts? No, not at all. Okay, so, and there's many different ways I could try to explain this, but there's a good example for you. So it's just women have this victim complex, and there's a lot of women, and again, a lot of women in this truth haven't really changed. Okay, they haven't really changed, because again, women are the weaker vessels. they're the biggest progenitors of inward thinking, okay, i.e. leaning into their own understanding. And that's what we're actually going to get in this lesson a little bit, is leaning on understanding, but we're talking about something a little bit different. But we might just switch over, we'll see. Let me see, bear with me. Let me see if I can pull some scripts here. But while I'm doing this, but yeah, she says a very important part. We have a very important part in the resurrection. Look, stop trying to interject yourself into every single thing. Okay, not everything's about you. Okay, not everything about you. 1 minute. But yeah, not everything's about you. And again, you could be talking about anything. You could be talking about the elect. They'll say, what about the women? All right, you could be talking about the 144,000. What about the women? You could be talking about the women, back in the day. What about the modern women? You could be talking about a dog. What about the women? It's like, man, look, man, not everything's about you, man. But women are very they're very vain, all right? They're very, obsessed with themselves is a big thing. And they're very jealous, and they're very, self-centered, all right, individuals. So you can't talk about anything without having, the woman always thinking about, what about the women? What about the women? All right, make more lessons about the women. Talk more about the women. Make more about the women. All right, well, women aren't like the saving grace of society. They're not, all right? They're not the backbone of society. Women are not, okay? That's men. But again, women are always trying to inject themselves into an area where they shouldn't be, because really they're foolish. So let's go and get that. Let's go and get Proverbs. And hold up, this is ugly. I don't like it. So I've gotten used to the light mode now. Proverbs 9 and 13. Or we'll just go from let's see. All right, this is Proverbs 9 and 13, and we'll just see how far we want to read down. Let me actually pull up a couple different versions while we're at it. King James Version first, over here on the left, it says, a foolish woman is clamorous. She is simple, knowing nothing. And that's what we see a lot. And we see this a lot in this truth. All right, and that's the problem, okay? And that's what one of the things I was talking to the wife about, all right, in the Sabbath chat, was just, I've seen it a lot, all right? This isn't something I'm pulling out of my ass. This isn't something I'm making up. This isn't just something I'm saying to make women look bad. No, I've seen it, all right? In my almost going on 7 years, all right, in this truth, all right, which still would make me a baby in this truth, I've seen it time and time again on the comment boards, on the live, on the Brothers on the Highways and Byways. I've seen it, man. I've seen it. I have seen it. I have seen it. I have seen it. Hell, I might have even seen it on my own page, but I tone out a lot of that dumb shit out because I look at it and then I just say, whatever, and then I just ignore it because half the time I don't even put up a comment on it because I'm not going to waste my breath on a fucking moron. But I have seen sisters that so-called sisters that seemingly, all right, i.e. seemed, like they were orderly, but then a lesson comes up, something said, and they completely fucking lose it and bug out on the comment boards, all right? Or something will be said in person, and these women, they're listening, all right? But something said about women, and they got all fucking hot and bothered and messed up in their mind. Not hot and bothered in a good way, but hot and bothered and literally hot as in angry and bothered by the scriptures of what they're hearing, and they start fucking going off and being, basically they turn instantly into a mocker, all right, and a scoffer, okay, instantly. All right, so that's why it's one of those things where a lot of these women that are in this truth, they're calling themselves in this truth. They're really not in the truth, okay? They're really not in the truth. And eventually they're going to have that spirit taken from them completely, Okay, and it can take some time. It can take, even years, seemingly. All right, there's going to be some big cracks in the pavement, and everyone's going to know their disorder. Like, look at Al-Azhar. I think Al-Azhar, I don't watch him a lot, but I think he calls upon Yahushai still, I think. Last I was seeing, but I don't even know anymore because I don't keep up with the guy. And that guy's completely gone. He's completely lost. He's completely through. Okay, that name will eventually be taken from you, but the word eventually is the word eventually. Okay, you can't really put a time limit on it. It's not, as soon as you start doing some things and disorderly, in 1 week exactly, the name Yahweh Shema Shah will be taken. No, it could be days, months, weeks, years. Okay, it just depends. I mean, that's going to be a constant. It's going to be a constant mental anguish. Okay, it's going to be something that's constantly in your mind, and the bug out process begins. You're constantly going to be fucked up in the mind trying to figure out what's going on, why is this happening to you, what's wrong with you, how can you fix it, why is the Lord doing this to you, why are people like this, so on and so forth. And you're going to try to find all sorts of justifications for you to be right. All right, and a bug out's a bug out for a reason. They don't ever come to the conclusion like, yes, I'm wicked and I'm not part of the 1/3. No, usually they try to jump through hoops to keep themselves trying to get a whiff of the spirit or something. And then you do have those percentages of those people. It depends. There's two different types of bug outs. There's those types, and then there's the other types that just say fuck this and everything. These people were awful to me and they were mean and they're not loving, and they just fall out and go in the world. Or you have the people, I'll say a 1.5, all right, 2.5, all right, this is another part of that individual that just says, fuck it. But instead of just going back and fully back into the world and just, not believing anymore, they actually migrate their way back into the Christian church. So there's those as well. But yeah, man, I've seen it time and time again, women bucking up on the comment board. They seem like sisters. It seemed like, people that were decent, but they're not. And again, there's a lot of women out there. And again, women aren't really good judges, and women aren't, for the most part, examining themselves like men are examining themselves. All right. And that's one of those things you're going to say, oh, well, that's not. Look, man. Look. All right. Through sin entering the world through a woman, and through her we all die. Okay. You're not on the same level as a man. Okay, you're a weaker vessel. All right, you're more prone to demonic attacks. You're more likely to be persuaded by the enemy. You're more likely to do something that's wicked. You're more likely to bring up things that are wicked. You're more likely to be I don't remember if I said that, but persuaded to do wickedness. All right, and wickedness is is nothing to a woman. Wickedness. There's something. How does it go? It says right here, Ecclesiasticus 25:19. All wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. Let the portion of a sinner fall upon her. So it's like think about it. It's like Esau. All right. Think about how no one as profane as Esau. Right. No one's as profane as Esau. Right. So even a woman is not as purely wicked as an Edomite woman. Yeah. But on that level, all right, no one can really reach the true wickedness of Esau. I mean, Jake's trying to give Esau a run for his fucking money. All right, they're really trying to catch up. But it's the same thing that, like, wickedness, is different. Okay, for a woman, the way that they operate it, the way that they flavor it, the way that they move and navigate their wickedness, the things that they do are just it's things that men do not conceive or perceive of doing. Okay, like a man, unless he's effeminate, all right, that's another thing me and my wife were talking about for the Sabbath chat, is, a lot of these people are held back by these worthless stumbling blocks. They don't like the way the women are treating the truth, or they want let me not with the Gentile, because people Gentile, the heathen, they want heathen salvation, or their heathen their heathen mothers or girlfriends or wives or whatever. They can't stand to think that they'd potentially die, so that causes them to bug out. All sorts of different shit. All right, all sorts of different shit. A lot of people are held back by a bunch of worthless stumbling blocks, just a bunch of worthless shit that they're just held back by. And there's women amongst that, but there's a lot of men as well. But again, being that there are more women, okay, more women are going to be saved, more women are going to die as well. There has to be more women saved than men, because it's not going to just be one. There's a call that came to mind, because there's another stumbling block: the multiple wives. All right, or the heathen wives. And women have that specific issue. They don't like that. Again, we're going into a good chunk of these women calling themselves in the truth are disorderly, right? They don't know, oh, he can't have heathen wives. Yes, they're not going to be like on a regular level as a Israelite wife, but yes, they're going to be technically lesser wives, yes. And there's nothing you can do about it. All right, there's nothing you can do about it. And in that state, all right, you're going to have all that N-dub mentality removed right from outside your fucking mind, because you can't exist like that. Okay, you cannot exist like that. Your head, along with most of the people in the world, your head, the whole head is sick. Okay, the whole head is sick. So you need to be fixed. Okay, you need to be fixed. All that jealousy, all right, that envy, that meanness, all right, that what's that word? Haughtiness, all right, all that needs to be stripped. That pride, all right, all that needs to be stripped from out of the woman. The vanity, all those things need to be stripped from out of a woman, and that's going to happen when we get those new bodies. All right, those as people would say, Christ-like bodies, but those bodies like Yahushua, those like anointed bodies. Okay, which are part flesh, part spirit, essentially, if you really want to get down to it. They're spiritual bodies that look and feel like flesh, all right, but they're not truly flesh in the sense, right? And once you have the law written within your inward parts, as we're all going to have, which is literally going to make us make it impossible for us to sin. You're not going to be having those jealousy thoughts and, oh, you ain't going to have no bitch in my house. You're like, the Lord's literally, you're going to basically have a frontal lobe lobotomy, all right, in a good light, okay? All that bullshit, all right, that got into your mind, it's going to be completely power washed out, okay? And you're going to have a pure heart in the kingdom. And that has to happen, because these women are sick, man, right? They're completely, again, yes, men are sick as well, but this ain't about them right now. Okay, again, women want to stonewall. What about the men? Stop looking out the window and start looking in the mirror, man. All right, whoa, man. Okay, stop looking out the window and start looking in the fucking mirror, because women don't want to look in the mirror. They want to look out the window. You want to know why? Because they're uncomfortable at what they see. Okay, they're uncomfortable in what they see. They know deep down inside, women are very good at lying to themselves. Okay, some of them deep down inside. Now, there are some women that are completely outside of their fucking minds, and they don't have any ability to perceive that they have all these things wrong with them. But a lot of the time it's stonewalling. A lot of the time it's a lack of accountability, and that we see that with women, especially the so-called black women, is that it's a lack of accountability. They might notice a flaw, but they'll say, no, the other person's wrong. I'm not wrong. The other person's wrong. No, well, I saw you doing this. You cursed out one of the apostles. No, you're wrong. You're wicked. You're bugged out. I'm not. All right, I'm not. You are. It's like, no, man, you're looking out the window instead of looking in the mirror. Meanwhile, you're doing all this wicked shit. You're talking shit about the apostles. You're talking shit about the prophets. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're bucking up. You're biting back. You can't accept a rebuke. You can't do nothing. And that's the thing, is that I've seen it time and time again on the comment boards. We all have. Ask any of you brothers that are on the comment board. Just you can either drop a 1 in the like way in the spirit of Apostle Gabar. You could put a 1 that you've seen that. Or if you want, you can actually leave a specific testimony of a situation that you saw. Because I know that I've seen it, and I know that you brothers seen it. I know that you sister, I'll allow you sisters to even mention it as well. All right, you have the permission to comment on that one. So if you've seen it, if you remember a specific video or a live stream or a live camp or a video, whatever it happens to be, you can mention that. All right, go ahead and mention it. Both brothers and sisters, Akim and Akwath. All right, you can both do it. The women have the permission, all right, to go ahead and do so. So it's just one of those things where you can't bullshit your way out of that. All right, we've seen it time and time again on the comment board. Every man in this truth, and more than likely some of the women as well, can give you some examples, or maybe they might not be able to come up with a specific example, but they can at least be like, yeah, I've seen that. All right, I remember a couple instances when I've seen that with the women bucking up on the comment board or on the live chat board, or in person. Okay, when the apostles, elders, and brothers are out there teaching on the highways, byways, and of course I'm referring to GMS because that's who I learned from. I'm not in GMS, but if you want the truth, that's who you're going to get it from, in their adjacent GMS adjacent groups, okay, which are those that are also working to build up the house of David, and coming in through that narrow and straight gate and not some other path, bringing all sorts of wickedness and stuff, right? But yeah, man, we've seen that time and time again. Okay, so where do I want to go from here? But yeah, Ecclesiasticus 25:19. Once again, all wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. Let the portion of a sinner fall upon her. And again, they don't want to have any accountability. They just don't, and that's not healthy. It's not a beneficial thing. All right. For example, if I have if I was walking through, say if I was in the military, right? Say if I was in the Vietnam War, and any of us were, right? If we're all in the Vietnam War back in the day, and we were in a platoon, right? We were all soldiers together, right? Men and women. They didn't really let women in like that. Men and women, all of us, brothers and sisters, we were all in there, and we just got out of a firefight. If one of us was hit, all right, now it's stressful of a battle. All right, you might see that we got hit in the back or the shoulder or something like that, but we might not be able to feel it because, one, we're all jacked up on fucking adrenaline and doing all this shit and fucking fight or flight. We would want something to be called out. Say, hey, you got shot in your back, man. You got hit. You might want to do something about that. Right? It's like, oh shit, you're right. I should fix that immediately, because if I don't, that's going to turn into a bigger problem. If I'm down in the, can get infected. It can get worse. I can bleed out more. Something, all these different hosts of issues could come up. So it wouldn't make sense for someone to be like, oh, hey, why are you looking at my back? Like, what are you talking about? Get off me. Maybe that person's shot in the back. It's like, well, that doesn't. Yeah, they might be, but if they're shot in the back, I'm gonna go and tell them the same thing. You need to fucking watch out and get some care, get some help. Right? But that's what happens when people have these faults. Specifically, it's a big women trait. And effeminate men, all right? Men that were raised by no fathers, single mothers, all right? That's another thing, like I mentioned, that me and my wife were talking about. You got these men, these effeminate men. And that's the stumbling blocks for them are essentially them being effeminate, are likened to the same things that the women, the multiple wives, they don't like that. A man being over a woman, they don't like that. And so on and so forth. They don't like those things. And because, mentally they're a woman, okay? They're physically, spiritually, spiritually is debated for these individuals because they're not spiritually behaving like a male, but they are physically and genetically a man, but they're acting bitch made, man. They're acting like a woman, okay? Because they didn't have anybody to impart. And that's another problem with a lot of the women, is that they didn't have a father figure in their life. All right, and this truth, a lot of them didn't have a father figure in their life. And with that, and you can tell the difference between a woman that's had a father figure in her life or has been caught young enough to have a man. All right, for example, if a woman, 17, 18, she didn't spend, too much. Say that the father left when she was, 15 or 16, and you got a hold of her when she was 18. That's not too many years without a father figure in that state. So essentially you can step in, because women are like children, okay? And essentially you're going to raise that woman the rest of the way, okay? And it sounds crazy, but that's essentially what's going to happen. You're going to raise that woman the rest of the way, because women need influence, okay? Women need influence. And the problem is when women get outside influence from other women. When that happens, just the wall, if it's a wall, it's going to crumble, because they just start whacking away with sledgehammers, man. If you see a woman and she likes to take counsel from other women, you need to watch the fuck out, all right? Because women give other women horrible advice, okay? A woman will never receive any more horrible advice than from another woman, okay? A woman should never get advice from another woman. She should seek advice from a man, specifically her husband. Now, there are certain instances where they might seek counsel from a woman. For example, if it's certain women-specific issues like managing, menstrual cramps or certain things like that, doing their hair. But when it comes to actual life advice, right down the tubes. All right, can't do it. It's gonna fuck them all up. All right, I've had plenty of girlfriends in the past. That's what they did. They like to they have all these friends. They're going out with their girlfriends. They're talking with their girlfriends. You know what their girlfriends are? Single single and they're trying to give her advice. All right, or the girls that are actually with boyfriends or fiancés or whatever, they're taking advice, not just the people I was with, the other women that are taking advice from these single women. Why are you gonna fucking take advice from a single woman? That's like me, if I'm like, yeah man, I'm having these car troubles, and this guy's like, you know what you should do? You should you should go and whack that back tire with a hammer. I said, what do you mean? Why? Are you a mechanic? No, I'm not a mechanic, but I don't know, just try it. Well, I have an issue where my car's not starting. It's not anything with the tire. Hey, man, all I'm saying is to just go whack the tire with a hammer. You never know. I mean, it doesn't hurt to try. Do you have a car? Nah, I don't have one. And I'm not a mechanic. But, I mean, you should just try it. All right, it's better than nothing, right? Okay. I'm going to listen to that guy? I'm going to listen to that guy that doesn't even own a vehicle. And on top of that, he's not even a mechanic, right? And on top of that, it's not even an issue with the fucking tire. So, no. But women will do that. Women will do that. Because, again, they don't know what the fuck's going on. All right? They don't know what the fuck's going on. That's why they need a man to lead them, because they on their own, they'll just destroy themselves. So let's go back, actually. Did I get it? I thought I got it. Did I? Let me go back. Maybe I didn't get it. Hold up. Yeah, I did get it. But, one thing I do want to do, I'm going to jump back into it. Because one thing I do want to do is I didn't get it in the any of the other translations, right? So anyway, KJV, Proverbs 9 and 13 through 14, it says, a foolish woman is clamorous, she is simple and knoweth nothing, for she sitteth at the door of her house on a seat in the high places of the city. It says to call passengers who go right on their ways, whoso is simple, let him turn in hither. And as for him that wanteth understanding, she saith to him, stolen waters are sweet, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. Really, it's just again, a woman trying to basically direct other individuals to their destruction. Right? Is there anything else from maybe 20? Says, but he knoweth not that the dead are there, and that her guests are in the depths of hell. So, again, a woman really can lead you to your death like that. Lead you to your grave, and not just a physical death, a spiritual death, man. She can lead you right the fuck out of this truth. Okay, it can happen. It's happened before. Okay, with ex brothers, because they're no longer in the truth anymore, because they followed their women right the fuck out. So, but I wanted to come back here because I wanted to get a couple words. I wanted to get the word clamorous. Okay, clamorous is making loud, continuous, confusing noise, or expressing loud and insistent demands and complaints. A woman that's constantly complaining. She's loud, continuously complaining, continuously loud, and confused. Okay. An antonym would be quiet, silent, peaceful. All right, which brings me to the scripture. A silent and loving wife. Okay, Ecclesiastes 26:14. It says, a silent and loving woman is a gift of the Lord, and there is nothing so much worth as a mind well instructed. So there's the opposite. Okay, there's the opposite of a clamorous, foolish woman. Okay. A quiet woman, a silent woman, a peaceful woman, a tranquil woman. All right, a woman's supposed to be a pillar of rest. That's why you look. It's horrible to be around these. Most of the people at my job are women. Some of them are all right, but the main boss is a so-called black woman. The other manager is a so-called black woman. Most of the staff are so-called black women or black girls. All right, they're technically women, but they're young. 17, 18, and not many black men either. The boss specifically seems to only want to hire black females. Okay, so the N-dub, all right, or N-dubs in training. Usually they're already N-dubs by that age anyway. But yeah, man, so that's what clamorous is, and a lot of the women are clamorous. So let's get it in the. Let's get the NRSV. All right, it says, the foolish woman is loud, she is ignorant and knows nothing. She sits at the door of her house, on the seat at the high places of the town, calling to those who pass by, who are going straight on their way. They're just trying to get from one place to another. It says, you are simple, turn in here. And to those without sense, she says, stolen water. You know, the people that listen to her, it's showing they don't have sense. It says, stolen water is sweet, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. But they do not know that the dead are there, that her guests are in the depths of Sheol. And Sheol is not a place where you burn for all ever. It's the grave. Sheol is the grave. All right. For example, if you go into the NLT, it says that in 18. It says, but little do they know that the dead are there. Her guests are in the depths of the grave. Okay. There you go. So that's what a woman will lead you to your death, man. And you got to watch out. You got to watch the fuck out. All right. You see these, to quote Onyx, you know, the old rap group, when you see a woman that's disorderly, you better back the fuck up. Back the fuck up. You better back the fuck up. Back the fuck up. You better back the fuck up. That's what you better do, man. You better back the fuck up. You better back the fuck up and get away from them, because she's gonna lead you to your grave, man. She's a grim reaper in a fucking Corvette. All right, speeding your ass to the death, speeding your ass to death. All right, and she'll take you with her too, because that's what most of these women are. You know, they're in the left hand seat of the left hand seat of the Grim Reaper's death wagon. All right, and the Grim Reaper, you know, of course, they have all these different things. The Grim Reaper is just a representative of death. It's just the death angel. All right, really, it's the representative of Yahweh Shai. All right, because Yahweh Shai was the really the death angel that was going around in the Exodus. All right, if you really want to get down to it, but and the Grim Reaper is just a artistic expression of the death angel, and they have him look like death, with the skull and bones, and sometimes they refer to even the Grim Reaper as the angel of death. Essentially, that's what he is the angel of death. There's nothing more to it. Some people try to make it theological or more than that, and try to make this and that. No, the fact of the matter is that at the root core, the Grim Reaper has always just been representative of death. All right, it's essentially a spirit of vengeance or a spirit of death that is basically leading you to your death. So that's when you have a spirit that's leading you to your death. That's why I said a lot of these women are just sitting in the left-hand passenger seat of the Grim Reaper's Corvette, and they're just full speed ahead, man. Fucking pedal to the goddamn metal, just going as fast as they can, ready to slam into a wall. And if you're not careful, a woman's gonna try to get you into that ride. You don't want that, man. You don't want that. You don't want to be in the back seat of a ride destined to destruction. And that's where a lot of these women are at, man. And again, there's a lot of orderly women out there too, but being that there's more women than men, that means it's the same thing. Just like how there's a lot of disorderly men, there is a ton of disorderly women. Most of the women, again, most of these men are disorderly, most of these women are disorderly. But again, that means there's more disorderly women than disorderly men. That means there's more women that are going to die than men are going to die. And with that, more women that are going to be saved than men that are saved. Because again, we're going to have, several women to every man. That's just how that's the way that it has to work. That's why in general there's more female births than male births. Okay, that's the way that the Lord has. The Lord controls everything. There's more female births than male births because of that fact. That there's multiple women joined unto one man. All right, if you just really look into things and you really get down to the science and look, everything will explain itself. That the Bible doesn't lie. All right, when you really get into real science, all right, biblical science, not trying to disprove but trying to prove. All right, using science, because that's what they do. Atheists, they get into science and they try to do anything that they can disprove, they try to do anything they can to disprove. That's not really the state you want to be in, of taking a stage like that, or taking a stance when you're looking for finding a reality or the truth of the matter. Okay, if I'm trying to find out if something's true or false, I cannot be biased. Okay, I have to say, well, I don't know which way it is. I have to let the science prove it. But Esau doesn't like to do that, so they like to use it specifically in formulations to try to disprove the truth and like to bend their formulations and bend their findings. But a lot of the individuals and scientists now are coming out and saying, yeah, pretty much everything adds up biblically, all right? But Again, those are not the ones that you're going to see pushed on the news. Okay? So, do with that what you will. Excuse me. So where else where I want to go? Let's see. I know there's something else I want to get. I want to talk about contentious women. I mean, I guess we can do. It's argumentative, yeah. Yeah. Here's one. I will get this because again, we see it on the comment boards. This is Proverbs. A lot of Proverbs today. Proverbs 27 and 15. I thought I was going to do a different lesson anyway. Let me see. Hold on. Had to basically give myself a note for what tomorrow's lesson is. Basically, earthly advice sometimes needed. Dealing with John 3 and 12 through 13. Because that's another thing that you'll see with individuals like, oh, where's that in the Bible? Well, that's another thing. The where's that in the Bible spirit. Let me write that down, too, on this other sticky note. Where's that in the Bible? I don't know if you know this or not. You believe in you think the white man's Esau? Well, yeah. Where's that in the Bible? It's nowhere in the Bible, technically. It's in the Bible, but not how you want it to be. When I say that, is, these individuals are like, show me where it says it verbatim. Show me where it says that. Show me where it says that. And it doesn't say anywhere that Esau is the so-called white man. He is the European, and you will see him in the land. Now, we're going to call it Babylon, but really it's going to be called, in their society, it's going to be called America, specifically the United States of America, and that's where they're going to be dwelling as, calling themselves Caucasian. No, the Bible doesn't work like that, okay? You got to do some of the, you got to have that Holy Spirit that reveals those, secrets to you. So let me get, let's see, where's that in the Bible spirit? And again, you should look well into your going. You should look into that and make, well, where does it say that in the Bible? If they say, oh, well, it doesn't say that verbatim, but it gives you the concepts, go to the concepts. All right, but again, a woman needs a man because a woman can't really interpret scriptures like a man can. Okay, so where were we going? I was going to get another scripture. Contentious woman. It says Proverbs 27 and 15, and I think we'll get closing out here. Let me see what the timer's at. Yeah, 43 minutes. So, yeah, I'll get this and then we'll close out. So, Proverbs 27 and 15, and this is another thing, an argumentative woman, all right? And that's what they do. They come on the comment board. We already talked about all these different things with these women. Another thing that happens is that they'll just argue. They'll just argue. They won't listen. They won't take any accountability. They won't take any advice. All right, they hate counsel. All right, they don't want it. There's a scripture. Because men will actually, the prophets will actually try to, they'll say something in the middle, usually just, go on them and say, hey, man, you're completely off. And then they'll completely bug out more. But Proverbs 12 and 1 shows you, it says, whoso loveth instruction loveth knowledge. So if you love instruction, what is instruction? Instruction in righteousness, all right? An order, set of directions on how to do something, art of teaching, or skill or subject. So biblically, let me translate this. The orders that the Lord wants us to work in, how we should be doing things, how we should be walking, how we should be behaving, all right, and and a step-by-step guide, all right. We should be loving instruction, all right, because if we're that's going to preserve our life, because again, if we're keeping the law will not save us because we're not justified through the law, but the wages of sin is death. So if we're breaking the law and we're sinning, it will kill us. So that instruction can keep us alive through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai, of course, right? So it says, whoso loveth instruction loveth knowledge. So if you love instruction, you're like behaving orderly, you're gonna love knowledge, all right, regardless if it's a little harsh around the edges. You're gonna say, hey, I saw that you were doing this, that can actually get you killed. You don't want to do that. Watch out. You're like, oh, okay. Thanks. I really appreciate that, man, because that could have been bad for me. Thank you for letting me know, because I did examine myself, and I was, kind of moving wrong. All right, you moving wrong. Inside joke. Oh, stupid song. But yeah, man, it's just one of those things where if you're moving wrong, for example, it's like, imagine being mad that, like, I don't know, you left a bunch of groceries on the top of your car, and someone says, hey man, you got groceries on your, hey, fuck off. Well, all right, then fuck you. Let your groceries fall off then, asshole. And then they're gonna be upset when their groceries fall off. Someone tried to help, but you didn't want the help. Okay, and that's a big thing with women on the comment board as well. They say, no, you're just hateful. You're just hateful. You're just they'll try to throw all these worldly terms, misogynistic or women hating, or all sorts of shit. If we hated women, we'd be faggots, and we're not. So it's ridiculous. Okay, if we hated women, we'd just be homosexuals with other men. That's if someone truly hates women, I hate them. I don't want anything to do with them. You'd just be a homosexual, or you'd be like those monks, those Buddhist monks, and you'd maybe even, they don't do that, but maybe even potentially castrate yourself and just live out a life of celibacy, right? If you hated women, because what's the point? We don't hate women, we love women. We just we only love orderly women. Okay, the sisters of the Aquathia, okay, that are actively behaving orderly. Okay, and orderly according to Yahweh Shem Shai, not orderly according to what they think. It says, whoso loveth instruction loveth knowledge, but he that hateth reproof is brutish. So you're brutish. You're like a fucking brute. Ooga booga, ooga booga. That's what you've become, right? Brutish, cruel, rough, acting like a wild animal instead of a thinking human. Fucking Esau, baby. Ooga booga, ooga booga. Fucking ooga booga ass bitch. All right, we don't want no ooga booga bitches, man. Okay, we don't want them. All right, so if you're a ooga booga or a ooga booga conspirator, you can get the fuck around from it. If you a ooga booga, you can get from around here. All right, so we don't want none of that. Okay, so continual dropping in a very rainy day and a contentious women are all alike. So, it says a quarrelsome wife. This is NLT. A quarrelsome wife is as annoying as constant dripping from a rainy day. Excuse me. I'm reading again. A quarrelsome wife, a wife prone to argument, all right, and argumentative, is as annoying as constant dripping on a rainy day. Okay. Now it says in these two, wife specifically, but Amp Bible, it mentions women. It says a constant dripping on a day of steady rain and a contentious, quarrelsome woman are alike. It's not always necessarily a wife. A wife more so specifically, but a contentious, argumentative woman is like, it's like that. You're trying to sleep, but you hear that faucet going. It's driving, or it goes boop, 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 boop. And you're like, oh my god, you fucking stick a towel in there, something, wrap it around it. God damn, somebody shut that fucking fountain up. This is gonna drive you nuts, right? That's what a woman is like, because she's gonna drive you nuts. You don't want none of that. So yeah, man, I think that's pretty much it for the lesson. But yeah, man, these women, you gotta just watch out for them, man. Don't let these women destroy you. There's a scripture that comes to mind about a woman destroying a man, and I can't think about it. It's let me see. here's one. Yeah, this is pretty much spot on. Really, it's a snare of death if you really want to get down to it. This is, I'm going to read in the Amp Bible, all right, to make it easier. It says, "And I discovered that of all irrational sins, none has been so destructive in beguiling one away from Yahweh as immoral women." None has been so destructive in beguiling one, tricking one away, pulling someone away. "And I discovered that of all irrational sins, none has been so destructive as beguiling, tricking a man away, right, from Yahweh as immoral women. For more bitter than death is the woman, whose heart is composed of snares and nets." Those are traps to get animals to basically lead them to their death. It says, "and whose hands are chains." So you're like being in a snare, a net, and a chain, right, with these wicked women. It says, "Whoever pleases Yahweh will escape from her, but the sinner will be taken captive by her," in those snares. So it's like, a portion of a wicked woman is given into a wicked man. A righteous woman is given to a righteous man, back and forth, right? Both things are true. These destructive women like this, they're more than likely they're not going to be with a man. Okay, not at least in this truth, because that would be destructive to that man. That would basically be, if the Lord allowed that to happen, something like that. That means that that man's not really in it to win it. All right, the Lord's having that woman basically sent on that woman sent upon that man to basically one as a test to see if he can escape. All right, or to be taken captive by her and ultimately led to their death in some way, shape, or form. All right, remember King Von's took her to the O. All right, or Crazy Story. Right, "I'm in New York with a stripper bitch. She from Kankers. She just bought a Glock with a ruler clip. Boy, don't play with me. She's a hoe. You know how it go. She said she want to smoke, so I took her to the O." Right, and then what did he say? Basically about fucking pulling up the house, and the guy throws a brick at the car. He fucking blows the guy down. All right, "Cause I shot your mans." And he says basically something like, he's from 63rd. Right, she didn't give a shit. So she was a snare unto that man, led that man to his death. So, and that's a real story. Real story. King Von was known to not bullshit like that in his songs. He was rap's first serial killer, man. The guy was fucking nuts. And that's why the Lord took his ass out. But again, stories like that, that's a real story. Okay? Took Her to the O was basically like, it's the same beat and intonation as Crazy Story, all of his crazy stories. It's the same flow. The guy wasn't that creative. He was a good storyteller. Nah, he wasn't a good storyteller. He was a good retelling an account that actually happened. I can tell you what I went throughout the day. It doesn't make me a good storyteller. I really did that shit. I can tell you, oh yeah, I was at work, stocking up, unloading, inventory and putting inventory out on shelves. And then, I stopped. I went and got me a little snack, right? There's a place nearby, junk food, but I went and got me a soda, a shake, and a I know, horrible fucking diet, but a soda, a shake, and some chicken nuggets, all right, because that's what they had there. And yeah, and then, there was a lady, we talked, there for a little bit about, what was going on in my store, because she likes to go to my store. And I said, oh yeah, we got this new item in that she was looking for. And then, I walked back, I was talking to my wife on the phone. Yeah, but that's because I actually did that. That's some real shit that I actually did today. It's not that I made it up. Oh, I'm a good storyteller. No, I actually fucking did that. I really did that shit. And that's what King Von was doing. And stories like that show, that these women, women are big on the thing for, helping their men get backdoored, right? Basically setting them up, especially, the so-called black woman. So yeah, man, it's just, if you're in this truth, the Lord's not going to send you a woman like that. A lot of those women are either going to be with wicked men or just alone, because it would be death for a woman like that to be sent unto a man. All right, and if he's of the elect, the Lord wouldn't do that to that man. So there's a lesson. Didn't think I was gonna go with that. I thought I was gonna go with the that dealing with earthly advice. And again, don't get tripped up about it. I'm trying to find a better way to say it. I'll try to explain it in there. Dealing with John 3 and 12 and 13, when Yahushua talked about, I told you earthly things, basically, and you didn't believe. How much more so are you going to I expect you to believe if I tell you spiritual things? It's not word like that, but just roughly paraphrasing, sometimes a lot of people are like, oh, where's that in the Bible? Where's that that's the where's that in the Bible spirit, right? And people get hung up on that. Okay, because you can show it, but some of it's it's through metaphor, it's through proverbs, it's through parables, and if you don't have the Holy Spirit, you're not going to be able to understand it, know how. But sometimes earthly advice is needed, and there are scriptures that warn about men's wisdom. Okay, but that's not what we're talking about, and we're going to break that down. Lord willing, I make that lesson tomorrow. We're going to break that down a little bit and show you what that's really talking about. We got to have a balance, and what I'm talking about with earthly things is, for example, the example I gave my wife earlier is that say if wherever Yahushua had been walking, say he was walking with his men, and they're walking from Jerusalem to some other part of Israel, right? Along that trip, he's going to be giving them, spiritual things primarily. But he will give them some earthly things. And what is earthly things? That's earthly advice. It's not necessarily spiritual, but it's earthly. And what is that? You say, oh, well, Yahushua is going to give earthly advice? What are you saying, man? You bugged out. No. Earthly advice in the example of, for example, and the prophets could give earthly advice as well. Say that, you're walking and all of a sudden there's a snake. Okay? You're going to give them earthly advice. It's not spiritual advice. Okay, it's not necessarily spiritual to say, hey, there's a snake over there, watch out. Or, hey, there's a pointy rock over there, watch out, you might trip. That's not spiritual advice, that's earthly advice. It's related to the earth, all right? It's not necessarily based on scripture. It's not based upon spirituality. It's just a general earthly, your living life advice, all right? Like, I don't know, don't jump in front of a car. That's earthly advice. Is it needed? Yeah, because, that's something you need to teach your kid. Is it spiritual? No, but it is earthly advice that's needed, okay? So, again, and the assholes that are like, because the earthly advice is usually played off through spiritual advice, all right, through circumspection, but we don't have a lot of ways to describe that other than earthly ways, for example, you wouldn't want to go over into this area because it could be a dangerous situation, or so on and so forth, right? So on and so forth. But you have that happen with individuals where they get so overly righteous. I'm actually going to... write that down. Righteous over much. Okay, you have these people that get righteous over much, and with that, they think they're like super Hebrew, and that I can, the Bible says nothing about taking no advice that's non-spiritual. All right, well again, then it's not necessarily spiritual that I told you to watch out for that rock, but hey, don't watch out for that rock, then you're gonna trip. Okay, so you should have took the advice. And usually they're based on spiritual things. But we'll talk about that more tomorrow. Again, I'm not going to explain it too much. It's just going to leave more questions. But that's where we're going to close out for this one. All right? That's where we're going to close out for this one. So, Lord willing, it was edifying. Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakak B'dash. Shalom, you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring, keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Until next one, Lord willing. Shalom.